Alright, so I'm leaving Casper, Wyoming right now. Wyoming has probably been the hardest state on the truck so far. Not in terms of big grades. I mean, I've passed through several pretty big passes, 6 and 7% multiple mile pulls. Wyoming, though, after I left out of Sheridan, that's right. After I left out of Sheridan, man, the wind is nuts. We're talking, it's blowing my truck and trailer everywhere. I would guess, it feels comparable to when I went to Moab, and, those are 50 plus mile an hour gusts. So, on the Wyoming road, on I-25 right now, I'm just constantly fighting a headwind. I only averaged 10 miles per gallon on my last fill up, which is down from about 12 and a half. So, it's like 5,000 plus feet, huge wind gusts, and then the roads are just like this. It's just basically rolling hills, up and down, and on top of that, it's hot out. It reminds me of the stretch of road between Albuquerque and Amarillo, which is a really crappy stretch of road. Anybody who's run it, especially towing, you know what I'm talking about. Because the wind, the heat, and the rolling hills, it takes a toll. It's hard to keep the speed limit sometimes on flats. The truck has done an extremely good job. I've had the cruise just set, doing 75 this whole way. Hopefully you can get a shot of those 10 gauges. I haven't had any cooling issues with the engine, as far as water, oil, the pyro. You'll see I'm holding speed on this pull here. There you go, you got a Duramax there. I'm actually running water meth now, so you can see my water meth kicks on at 20 psi, and it's holding me at 950 degrees, whereas before on some of these pulls, I was as high as 1100. So the water meth, I had a little bit of 50-50 mix in there left over from when I was, racing my truck around last time. But I put 2 gallons of just straight water in there. So, I may have a 5% meth mix in there. The amount that was in there was very minute. But the straight water is actually doing awesome. There you can see the road. It's just rolling hills, high altitude, hot, a lot of wind. All in all, this is probably as far as on the truck goes, this is probably the toughest stretch of road that the truck's had to go through. So, just wanted to make another, video now that I got the water meth on and just cruising. I can tell you this, like I said, this is a very comparable to that stretch of I-40 between Amarillo and Albuquerque. I did that stretch in the flatbed last year. The flatbed is, still considered to be, what it was considered to be a pretty healthy IDI, 220 horse and almost 440 torque, and pulling this exact same trailer, exact same Bronco 2, my buggy. This stretch of road would have probably about 99% of the IDIs on its knees. You've seen I've been passing Duramaxes, whether they're stock or not, regardless, they're a modern diesel, and I've been easily passing them throughout the trip. Duramaxes, walking past Super Duty 7.3s. Haven't really seen a whole lot of Dodges on the road, honestly. Mostly Duramaxes and Fords. So, for as well as this thing has performed, I couldn't be happier. It's definitely worth every penny I spent. on it now that I've got the chance to tow with it. Tow through some of the roughest, roughest areas in the country, at least where I'll be. And hasn't skipped a beat, man. It's done awesome. The other thing I wanted to say, I did back in Butte, I pulled timing back 2 degrees. A big misconception, I've seen it on the oil burners, I've seen it on Ford truck enthusiasts, I've seen it a lot of places. People seem to misunderstand what you're supposed to do for altitude adjustment. The general consensus that gets thrown around is, well, you go up in elevation so the air's thinner, you need to advance your timing to give the fuel more time to burn. That's actually not right. And a lot of people drew that conclusion from looking at the factory Ford and Snap-on timing charts. But what people don't realize is those timing charts are for luminosity probes, which are rated in after top dead center. A higher number, a numerically higher number, is actually retarding the timing. You're supposed to pull timing back. It changes how the exhaust pulses act on the turbocharger. On a naturally aspirated engine, I'm not sure how it would act, at least, but on a turbocharged, you want to retard the timing. I would assume that, naturally aspirated is the same, but I don't think you're gonna, see that much of a difference either way on one of those. I could be wrong. Yeah, you're supposed to pull timing, not add timing. If you add timing, you're going to get a ridiculously smoky, gutless pig. That was the other thing I was going to say. I'm at like, I think Casper, the town I just went through, it said 5,200 feet, and I've gone up. You guys have been watching. I've continued going up, probably around 5,500 now. Cruising these grades, everything. I've got no smoke. I've got my wife, that's the car following behind me. I've called and asked her, and she said the truck is very, very minimal smoke. She said more smoke when we were leaving Fort Lewis than now at high altitude. So that's pretty impressive. Kind of interesting. Maybe I could have tuned the engine slightly better for towing at sea level. Who knows? But it's running great right now. So I'm approaching 10 minutes on this thing, so I'll cut it off. If I've got anything else eventful on the way, I'll add it in. But I know this is the video that a lot of you guys wanted.